For thousands of years, mystics, sages, and ancient civilizations have guarded a secret so profound that it reshapes the very meaning of human perception. A secret hidden deep within the center of your brain, small, mysterious, and pulsing with a quiet power that most people never learn to access. This secret is the pineal gland, but not the one you hear about in biology textbooks. Because modern science describes the pineal gland as a simple regulator of sleep, a biological clock that guides our circadian rhythms. Yet ancient traditions around the world insisted it was something far greater, a portal, a gateway between the physical and the spiritual, the human and the divine. So here is the question that opens the door to our journey tonight. Why did so many ancient cultures revere the pineal gland as a sacred organ, while modern science reduces it to a footnote in physiology? Is it ignorance? Is it caution? Or is it because the true purpose of the pineal gland can only be understood through experience, not dissection? In this video, we will explore the ancient secret of the pineal gland that science ignores, not through conspiracy or speculation, but through the timeless wisdom preserved across civilizations. We will journey through the symbolic role of the pineal gland in Egypt, India, Greece, and Mesoamerica, the esoteric philosophy that saw it as the seat of the soul, the deeper meaning behind the so-called inner eye, and the reasons why this knowledge was hidden, lost, or dismissed over time. But more importantly, we will uncover what the pineal gland represents for the modern seeker, a bridge between intuition and reason, spirituality and embodiment, the seen and the unseen. By the end of this exploration, you may discover that the pineal gland is not just an organ. It is a symbol, a catalyst, a doorway waiting quietly within you. So breathe deeply. Set aside everything you think you know about the mind and spirit, because what you're about to hear is older than civilization and more transformative than any scientific explanation alone. Long before modern science placed the pineal gland under its clinical microscope, ancient civilizations treated it as something far more mysterious, far more sacred than a simple organ nestled deep within the brain. To them, it was not just tissue. It was a gateway, a bridge between worlds, a luminous seed of consciousness planted inside every human being. The earliest traces of this belief stretch back thousands of years. In ancient Egypt, the pineal gland was symbolically represented by the Eye of Horus, an icon so powerful that it adorned temple walls, royal tombs, and sacred scrolls. Its shape, proportions, and geometry uncannily mirror the structure of the pineal gland. Yet the Egyptians described it not as a biological feature, but as the eye of spirit, a mystical instrument capable of perceiving realms beyond ordinary sight. Travel eastward to India, and the same idea emerges under a different name, Ajna, the third eye chakra. Yogic texts describe it as the center of intuition, insight, and expanded awareness, an inner lens used to perceive the truth behind illusions. Though they spoke in symbolic language, the location they pointed to aligns precisely with the pineal region. To them, this eye was not a metaphor. It was an inner sense, dormant in most, awakened in the few. In ancient Greece, philosophers were equally captivated. Plato referred to a divine seed within the human being, a spark that allowed the soul to remember its origins. Later, the Roman mystics and Hermetic scholars believed the pineal center was the throne of the spirit, the point where the mortal self meets the immortal essence. But perhaps the most direct philosophical assertion came from the French philosopher René Descartes, who famously called the pineal gland the seat of the soul. While he spoke in metaphysical terms, not scientific, his claim echoed the whispers of mystery traditions spanning continents. So why, then, did this knowledge fade? Why did modern culture reduce the pineal gland to a simple biological regulator? Because as society shifted toward materialism, subjective experience, visions, intuition, transcendence, fell under suspicion. Anything that could not be measured was dismissed. And so the ancient symbolic understanding of the pineal gland drifted into the realm of myth, superstition, and forgotten lore. But the truth is more nuanced. Science studies the pineal gland's physical functions. Mystics studied its phenomenological impact, how it relates to states of awareness, dreams, altered perception, and inner awakening. The two perspectives do not contradict, they simply speak different languages. Across lost civilizations, sacred texts, and esoteric schools, the pineal gland was revered not for what it is, but for what it represents. The human capacity to pierce the veil between the seen and unseen, to awaken a deeper layer of consciousness, to perceive life with clarity and unity. This is the ancient secret, one not ignored by science, but simply outside science's domain, because it belongs to the inner world, the world of experience, transformation, and awakening. And now, as we step into the next chapter, we'll explore the true symbolic mechanics behind this third eye, how ancient sages believed it operates, why they guarded this knowledge, and what it means for the modern seeker. To understand the ancient secret of the pineal gland, we must first recognize one uncomfortable truth. What modern science calls a tiny endocrine gland was once regarded as the most sacred organ in the human body. Hidden deep within the brain, shaped like a pine cone, and positioned at the geometric center of the skull, the pineal gland was seen by ancient civilizations as a doorway, a threshold between the physical and the spiritual, the visible and the invisible. But the real mystery begins here. Why did cultures separated by oceans, centuries, and languages all point to this same gland as the seat of higher vision? Let us begin to unravel this. 1. The inner stargate. Imagine for a moment that your consciousness is not limited to the five senses, that deep within you lies a dormant instrument capable of perceiving realities beyond physical sight. Ancient traditions believed the pineal gland was that instrument, not metaphorically, literally. To the Egyptians, it was the eye of Horus, the inner organ capable of transcendent vision. To the Hindus, it was the Ajna chakra, the third eye that perceives subtle realms. To the Greeks, it was the seat of the soul, as described by Plato and later by Descartes. And in esoteric Kabbalah, it was the gate of Da'at, the doorway to hidden knowledge. These aren't coincidences. These are echoes of an older universal teaching. The pineal gland is a biological link to higher consciousness. 2. The forgotten anatomy of enlightenment. Modern neuroscience acknowledges that the pineal gland regulates circadian rhythms and produces melatonin. That is true, but painfully incomplete. Ancient mystics insisted that this gland was far more than a regulator of sleep. They believed it was a receiver, an antenna, capable of detecting subtle energies, intuitive impressions, and even higher states of awareness. How could they have known this without modern technology? Because they were not studying the body from the outside. They were studying consciousness from the inside. Through meditation, ritual, breathwork, trance, and altered states, initiates learned to activate the pineal gland and see inwardly. They described visions, revelations, symbolic downloads of information, all arising from a single point of inner luminosity. Thousands of years before science, they mapped the inner mechanics of awareness. 3. The pineal as a living crystal. One of the most bizarre and fascinating aspects of the pineal gland is that it contains microcrystals, tiny calcite formations that behave like biological piezoelectric sensors. This means they can generate electrical signals when compressed, vibrated, or stimulated by electromagnetic fields. Ancient teachers did not use the word piezoelectric, but they understood the principle. They believed the pineal gland was capable of vibrational awakening, responding to sound, frequency, light, and intention. To them, the pineal was not passive, it was a living crystal capable of resonance. This explains why ancient temples were built with acoustics that induced trance states, why mantras were used to awaken inner sight, why sacred geometry was used to harmonize consciousness, and why deep meditation was seen as a path to illumination. They were activating the inner crystal. 4. the silent doorway between worlds. Every initiation tradition spoke of an inner doorway, a threshold that only opens when consciousness becomes still and focused. The pineal gland was that doorway. It was believed to allow the initiate to perceive symbolic visions, access intuition with profound clarity, receive guidance from higher realms, dissolve the boundaries of identity, experience unity with the universe. These experiences were not considered hallucinations or imagination. They were considered an awakening to the true nature of consciousness. And here is where the mystery deepens. Initiates insisted that the pineal gland was capable of perceiving realities science does not yet acknowledge, not by leaving the physical world, but by expanding our perception of it. In the next section, we will dive into the unseen layers of the pineal gland's purpose, the hidden meanings behind its symbolism, the reasons ancient civilizations revered it, and the paradox of why modern society has forgotten its significance. To truly understand the ancient secret of the pineal gland, we must now step into the deeper layers, the hidden meanings, paradoxes, and mysteries that have followed this tiny organ across millennia. If Chapter 3 opened the door, Chapter 4 invites you into the inner chamber, where the pineal gland is no longer just a part of the brain, but a symbol, a gateway, and a paradox that defies simple explanation. Because here lies the truth the ancients understood instinctively. The pineal gland is not merely a biological structure. It is a bridge between worlds, between inner and outer, between perception and revelation, between the human and the transcendent. And this is where the story becomes far more intriguing. 1. The paradox of the inner sun. Ancient traditions often referred to a sun within, a radiant inner source of light and consciousness that guides the seeker. Surprisingly, the pineal gland has long been associated with luminous metaphors. The Egyptians depicted it as the shining eye of Horus. The Hindus described it as the bindu of light in the Ajna chakra. The Gnostics spoke of the spark within the human soul. The paradox? The organ linked to light is buried in total darkness deep inside the skull. No sunlight ever touches it. Yet for thousands of years, mystics insisted it was the gateway to inner illumination. This is not biology. This is symbolism. The pineal gland became a metaphor for enlightenment because the light it reveals is not physical light, but awareness, insight, and expanded consciousness. 2. The ancient claim, the pineal gland as an interdimensional lens. Nearly every mystery tradition claimed the same thing in different words. The pineal gland allows perception beyond the physical senses. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the implications are profound. Some cultures said it allowed access to prophetic visions, higher realms, communication with the divine, the blueprint behind material reality, past life memory, or ancestral knowledge. Others suggested it was a receiver, a biological antenna capable of tuning into frequencies beyond ordinary awareness. Not scientifically proven, but metaphorically powerful. In this view, the pineal gland is not just an observer of reality, but a participant, a translator, a lens through which deeper layers of existence can be perceived. 3. The hidden mechanics of transformation. The ancients believed that when the pineal gland is activated, 3 things happen. 1. The dissolution of illusion. Old beliefs, emotional patterns, and false identities begin to fall away. You stop living through conditioning and start living from awareness. 2. The expansion of perception. Intuition sharpens, synchronicities increase, life begins to feel guided rather than random. Many describe it as remembering something forgotten. 3. The alignment with higher will. You begin to sense a purpose, not imposed, but revealed. You become less reactive, more conscious, more attuned to meaning. Whether metaphoric or psychological, these experiences reflect the core of spiritual awakening. 4. The shadow side. Why the knowledge was hidden. Every powerful truth has a shadow. Every gateway has its guardians. The pineal gland's mystical significance was often hidden for three reasons. 1. Misused knowledge about expanded perception could be dangerous in the hands of those seeking manipulation or dominance. 2. Misunderstanding. Those not prepared might confuse symbolic teachings for literal ones, leading to confusion, fear, or obsession. 3. Inner readiness. Initiates were taught that revelation without preparation leads to imbalance. You must build inner stability before stepping into expanded awareness. Thus, the pineal gland was not suppressed, it was protected. A secret meant not to be hoarded, but to be earned. 5. The modern dilemma. Science disconnects the symbol. Here lies the central paradox that inspired this script's title. Science sees melatonin, circadian rhythm, calcification, neurotransmitters. Mystics see awakening, higher perception, inner light, the seat of the soul. Both are correct, because they are describing two different languages. The scientific lens explains the mechanism. The spiritual lens explains the meaning. The truth emerges only when both are honored. 6. The pineal gland as a mirror of consciousness. In ancient teachings, the pineal gland does not give spiritual vision. It reflects it. Like a mirror, it does not create the light. It reveals the light that is already there within you. This is the deepest secret. The pineal gland is less an organ and more a symbol of your capacity to awaken. Now that we've explored the ancient symbolism and hidden metaphysics surrounding the pineal gland, the question becomes, how can you apply this wisdom in your own life? Because the pineal gland is not just a mysterious organ, it is a gateway. And every gateway has a key. Over thousands of years, spiritual traditions across the world discovered practices that stimulate, purify, and awaken this inner portal. These techniques were never meant to be complicated. They were meant to be consistent, forging a deeper connection between the mind, the subtle body, and the higher consciousness waiting to emerge. Below are the timeless methods, refined through ancient wisdom, validated by personal experience, that help unlock the potential of the pineal gland. 1. Silence, the forgotten catalyst. Every ancient tradition, from Sufi mystics to Taoist adepts, taught one indispensable practice: silence. The pineal gland responds powerfully to inner stillness. Begin with 5 minutes a day. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow your awareness to settle between your eyebrows, the region known as the third eye. With time, this silence becomes a kind of inner tuning fork, aligning your mind with deeper frequencies, allowing intuitive insights to rise naturally. 2. Darkness, the ancient reset. For centuries, mystery schools practiced what they called dark retreats, extended periods in complete darkness. Why? Because the pineal gland is exquisitely sensitive to light. In darkness, it becomes active. Now you don't need a cave or monastery to benefit. Try spending short periods in dim or no light. Meditate before dawn or after sunset. Turn off artificial lights and let natural darkness envelop your senses. This quiet reset amplifies the pineal gland's natural rhythm, enhancing your ability to enter deeper states of awareness. 3. Breathwork to activate the inner flame. In Hindu and Tibetan traditions, certain breathing patterns were believed to stoke the fire of the inner mind, awakening dormant spiritual centers. A simple technique: inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds. Repeat slowly for several minutes while focusing awareness on the center of the forehead. Many practitioners report tingling, warmth, or light pressure, a sign of subtle activation. 4. Symbolic visualization, speaking the pineal's language. The pineal gland responds not to logic, but to symbol, the language of the subconscious. Visualize a radiant blue or violet light, a lotus blooming between the eyebrows, a glowing sphere of golden energy. These symbolic images have been used for thousands of years for a reason. They stimulate the deep structures of the inner mind where the Pineal gland interfaces with consciousness. 5. Clean inner and outer space. Ancient texts often warned that the pineal gland becomes clouded, not only by physical toxins, but by emotional and mental clutter. Cleansing practices include limiting overstimulation, media, noise, screens, creating a peaceful space for inner work, practicing forgiveness to release stagnant emotional energy, grounding techniques such as walking barefoot on natural earth. These practices bring coherence back to the nervous system, allowing the pineal gland to function as it was meant to, as a beacon of clarity and intuitive perception. 6. The ritual of attention. Perhaps the most powerful technique is also the simplest. Pay attention to your inner world. When you notice synchronicities, intuitive nudges, or spontaneous moments of insight, honor them. Write them down. Reflect on them. The pineal gland thrives when the seeker listens. These practices do not force awakening. They invitate it. And through them, the ancient secret becomes personal, accessible, and profoundly transformative. As we reach the end of this journey into the ancient secret of the pineal gland, one truth becomes undeniable. This small, mysterious organ at the center of the brain is far more than a biological structure. For thousands of years, sages, mystics, prophets, and explorers of consciousness have pointed to it as the gateway to inner worlds, the throne of the soul, and the bridge between the physical and the divine. Yet in modern times, this wisdom has been dismissed, simplified, or overshadowed by purely material explanations. Science, focused on what can be measured, has struggled to grasp the depth of what ancient civilizations understood intuitively. That human perception is not limited to the 5 senses, and the pineal gland plays a role in this expanded awareness. We explored how the Egyptians encoded its symbolism in the eye of Horus, how Hindu traditions honored it as the seat of the third eye, how philosophers like Descartes recognized its peculiar place in the architecture of consciousness, and how mystery schools used rituals designed to awaken the inner light that emanates from within. But beyond history, beyond myth, beyond philosophy, the deeper message is this: the pineal gland is not just an organ, it is an invitation to explore your inner landscape, to awaken dormant capacities of intuition, insight, and expanded perception, to remember that consciousness is far more vast than the physical world suggests. And perhaps the greatest secret of all is this: you do not need temples, rituals, or esoteric initiations to begin activating this inner potential. It begins with awareness, with presence, with the willingness to look within. So now, the question returns to you. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you treat it as an intriguing idea, or as a doorway into deeper self-discovery? If this exploration stirred something inside you, curiosity, recognition, or a sense of ancient memory, share your thoughts. Your journey, your experiences, your insights may be the key another seeker needs. And if you wish to continue walking this path of hidden wisdom, ancient truths, and the vast potentials of human consciousness, stay connected. There are many more mysteries waiting to unfold. Until then, trust your inner vision. Listen to the quiet voice within. And remember, the true third eye opens from the inside.